a little bit about Linda. So that was so wonderful to have this reconnection to your divinity, which is, I say you're here on a fully funded mission. That's my term that finally came to me after a lot of my deep work of making money, losing money, and on and on and on. It's like you're here on a fully funded mission. You have everything you need. Stop looking around at the scarcity and be in the moment, deal with what's there right then. Then it moves through the cycles. So what I loved about our next speaker is that not a lot of people talk about this. People might talk about prosperity or money or abundance or something, but the whole idea, and I've had businesses for a long, long time now, and decades, many different businesses. And what's amazing about having a business is I believe it is a very powerful spiritual path. And if you don't have a business, it's okay, because what Linda's talking about relates to your work and your money and a lot of other things. But when we were chatting, she was talking about how your business is sort of takes shape and the people want you. You know, there's people who need this service, and then you align with that particular business. So she's going to talk to us about accessing the soul of your business and revenue with purpose in the Akashic Records. So Linda is an international Akashic record teacher, consultant, strategic business coach, women's empowerment speaker, and author. She educates coaches and business owners to access the soul of their business, and received this new paradigm from the Akashic record keepers to teach business owners how to create a bigger, greater impact by becoming more strategically purpose-driven and make more money. So she has a book out, The Ultimate Guide to Creating Your Soul-Aligned Business, and you can find her at either AkashicRecordBusinessCoaching.com or BusinessWomenWarriors.com. I love that. And her free gift is discover the questions to ask the soul of your business. This is a little quote that I thought was very powerful to kick us off. She said, every business has a soul with a higher purpose to serve its segment of humanity that required its products, services, and information. And how we are not our business and our business is not us, and why. So thank you so much, Linda. Let me see, where are you? If I can find you now, Linda.
I'm right here on the
there
first page, I think. Hi.
Hello, darling.
Oh my gosh, thank you everyone so much for being here. Nan, thank you for inviting me. I just put in, because I didn't see on your little form there, the free download for the questions.
We're sending it out to everybody.
I just put it in the chat so everyone can see questionsforbiz.com. So hi, everyone. Nan, what do you want me to start with? There's just so much.
There is, I know. Well, I love the idea that we were talking about the other day. Of course, everyone wants to make love, but everyone wants to make
they want to do that too.
And, all of the above. But the idea of, like, when you get called, I've had businesses for 30 some years, and a lot of big ones, fashion design and real estate investing, and small healing ones, and everything in between. And it becomes, it's a part of you, it's coming through you. And I loved that idea that you said that this business is almost like an entity taking shape in the records that calls to people who align with it, like you.
Correct. So first of all, I've been in the Akashic Records business since 1998. I've been a teacher and a consultant. So I've been around a long time. And I've been a strategic business coach since 2007. And 4 years, I was a closet spiritual person and a outward forward business person. But I was very fluent in both the business language, like I can talk the business language and I can speak the spiritual language. And what I would do is take one hat off and put the other one on. And the record keepers just kept saying, you need to bring this together. You need to bring this together. And I said, no, it's impossible. I'm going to lose all of my clients. They're going to think I'm too woo-woo. And I'm not what you would call a woo-woo person. I'm very practical and strategic and earthbound in there. And that's what they were saying. Well, that's what we need you for. That's why you need to do this.
Yes.
So
yes.
I wasn't an easy customer. I fought all the way. So, but in February of this year was my first coming out moment, where I did the LA Expo, and I did a talk for the first time in front of people and telling them this. And they're like, what are you talking about? So it's kind of how it was in the 1990s when I learned how to read the Akashic Records. And people, when I said, oh yeah, I do this, they just had that glazed look in their face where you knew that they had no idea what you were talking about. Well, that's how it is now for me with the Akashic Records of a Business. So with that little bit of background, one thing for sure to know is that your business is not you, and you are not your business, okay? Your business, it has its own soul, but its soul is very, very different than our soul. Our soul is very multidimensional. We have all these past lives. We have all these different contracts, connections, karma. The business, if you can think of it as there's a segment of humanity, and think of it as a color, like a certain color of yellow. And there's, many, many, many colors, but there's a certain segment of humanity that has specific needs, wants, desires for services, products, classes, whatever it happens to be that's out there in the world, cars, doctors, that they put together collectively, their need, their desire to help them with this creates this soul. So think of it as a bubble that is alive. And so it has this need that these people need to be fulfilled. So now it has contracts. It has contracts with its people, its color of yellow, its shade. And so what it does is, since we are all vessels, and the universe, is constantly guiding us in one way or another, through our hearts, through our intuition, however, through the Akashic Records. What happens is that, I'm going to call it an entity, but it's like a bubble, okay? That entity goes and finds the person that vibrates and has everything it needs to complete its contracts. So think of it now as an infinity sign. So it connects with you. You keep getting these ideas. I should be doing this. I can be doing that. Maybe I should expand my business. Maybe I should sell my business. Maybe I should start a business. Maybe I should grow my business. All these different things. What's really happening is this entity is trying to get you to vibrate at its level so that you can connect. And then once you connect, think of that as an infinity sign. Okay, now you're connected. So the business's side of the infinity sign is always clear. It has a blueprint. It knows what needs to be done to meet its contracts. But once it connects with us, it hits up against our stuff when business gets slow, or we're not working with the right client, or we're not making enough money, or we're making too much money, but we're totally burnt out because we're so overwhelmed. And so what happens is the level of success and the contracts the business can actually meet is based on the ability for your side of the infinity sign to flow. So sometimes the flow may be the size of a straw, and sometimes it might be like a big water pipe that just comes gushing out. And so what the business is doing is it is helping you be everything you can be, because it has recognized in you that you have everything it takes to help this business succeed in completing the contracts it has with its segment of humanity. Now, the trick is for what were you going to say something, Nan?
Oh, I said it's spectacular. I absolutely love
It's
it.
actually really simple when the record keepers, they'd been giving this to me for a while, and I was like, no, I can't. I got to stay on the business side, keep this separate. But it makes so much sense that it's actually, so when our business or our career, it doesn't matter, or your idea that you need to get a new career, it's the flow. That side flows all the time. It's when it crosses over to our side of this infinity sign. And so it's unlocking whatever is that has to do with value, worth, whatever our past experiences are, because we are a whole totality of who we are as a soul, for this lifetime, for why we're here. And so that's what the business does. But our job is to become this clear vessel, allowing this information to come through and allow the strategies that it has, and being able to understand the language. That's where the business part of my stuff, where being a strategic coach for so many years, that I see the big picture, because it isn't in my view, it isn't value just to know what your purpose is. You have to know, because it's so big. When I teach how to open your business as Akashic Records, when one of our first things is, what's the purpose of the business? Well, it's so big. It's like this big giant cloud, and we're this little energy going, this is impossible. So we go into survival techniques, overwhelm, excuses, distractions, whatever. And so what we do, and what I do, and I think this is why they put me in this situation, this is my segment of humanity, is that, no, don't look at how big it is. Look at, where do we start right now? What are the first steps I can take? Because what happens then, are doors open that you never saw. I have seen this happen over and over and over again. And every time we start to work on our side of the, all right, the business is getting a little slow. Do I need a vacation? Or do I need to dig a little deeper into what are some of my hidden beliefs that might be blocking me? So it's about discernment. It's about the art of questioning. When I would teach my Akashic Records students, I would always say that there's an art to formulating questions so that you get deeper versus superficial.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, definitely. One of the things I learned many years ago from a mentor was the way that you ask a question, what you say. If it's subjective, like, is this good for me? According to who, when, where, how? What the hell does that mean? Right? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So the thing is that the best way to keep yourself on task with what I'm saying, whether it's your career or your business, is to have an infinity sign. And whether it's at your desk or, in your, in your not your suitcase, but your briefcase, or whatever it is that you use for work, is to have an infinity sign. And on my website, I have it where there's your business is on one side, you are on the other. And whenever you're feeling something not moving, go to your side and start to figure out what is it that's coming up. Because I was never a feeler. I was one of those people that would think their feelings instead of feel their feelings. Yeah. And the Akashic record keepers years ago, back in the 90s and 2000, would say, well, Linda, you're teaching people how to open their heart. And I said, you got the wrong person. I don't have a heart. I don't know what that means to feel. What does that mean? And they said, oh no, we have the best person, because who else than somebody that's going to fight their way back to it? It took me about 14 years, but now I can actually say that I'm there. And you know what's so beautiful about the Akashic Records is that once you learn how to access the Akashic Records, that energy is always with you. So no matter if I'm working with my businesswomen warriors, which are, not necessarily spiritual people, but not necessarily not, we're just working on strategies. My energy surrounds them so they achieve much faster. And in 2007, when I first started coaching, I would open my own Akashic records when I would be on a call with clients. And it was fascinating to me that these clients would move through their stuff so fast. And I thought, wow, these people are really amazing. And then I realized it was because of that Akashic records. It allowed their intuition to kick in faster. Yeah. So whether you know how to open the Akashic records, through a process, I know you have Lisa on today, and Lisa and I are best of friends. And so whether you know how to open the records or you can open it spontaneous through your intuition, I've never been that lucky. I've always needed a process. You can access and connect with your heart to connect with your business or even your career. And the questions that I have in Questions for Biz, they will start you on that process. All you need to do is just be really calm and just really be grateful for this career that has found its way into you. Be grateful for this business, no matter what situation it is. Be grateful for it so that you can open your heart in that moment and it can connect and it can tell you what it is it needs from you, because that's why I am doing this and telling people about this, is to help them understand that their business has everything they need for its success. And what's so beautiful is that when that infinity sign comes around, it had everything it has that you give to it. It gives back to you what you want in your life. Yeah. And it's just so beautiful. If you start to see, the Akashic Masters have just, talked to me so much about this and given me the questions and people that don't know how to access the records, which it doesn't mean you can't connect with your business.
No. Yeah. What about things like, I love this because I've had many, many businesses over many, many, many years, 35 years or something like that. And, there were ones that I was like, I want to do this. And I feel like were maybe more generated from my need to please my parents or, something like this. And my first business was in fashion design, and that was departure with my parents being a nurse and a banker. So they were like, what? But then when things crashed, which, put me on my path then, and then it was like when real estate investing came on, I didn't even know there was such a thing. 7 nights in a row, I go into the bedroom where my ex-husband is sleeping with an infomercial on. I laugh because I was taught never to buy infomercials. But over 7 nights, I see the whole dang thing and end up calling them and buying it. And I couldn't explain it to my husband or anybody else. I was so compelled to do this. And I did it for 8 to 10 years. And it was one of the most profound experiences. I challenged all of my fears about money and my personal side. It was just profound, but I never, ever would have thought about it. So there's ones that show up like that too.
Well, that it sounds like, and obviously I'm not in your records, but it sounds like you really needed some growth in the school of money and the school of value. And it's funny because I had been in real estate forever and a real estate investor. And then the big crash hit in 2008. And I had so many holdings at that point. And I took everything personally, like there was something wrong with me. Yeah. And I had to really, work in the records a lot because I felt like I was really broken. Like, how could I teach people how to invest? How could I be an investor? How could I sell real estate? At that time, I was also selling real estate. And so there's so many parts in the Akashic records and our relationship to them. And they're all unique. All of your relationships to your higher beings. I've taken a lot of different mystery schools and that, but I've always come back to the record keepers because I know that if I say my prayer, that gets me access. I can ask my questions, I close them, I go on with my day. I'm not a meditator and I'm sorry to say, I don't do all that stuff. I just get down to business. But what I really would love everyone to realize is that you are this magnificent vessel, and you came here to experience life in so many different ways. And when you go and are attracted to a business, it's a accelerated process of growth, because it hits all the buttons that we're in. And there's lots of what the record keepers told me last year before I launched this. They said that there's too many businesses that people are giving up on. So they're giving up on themselves. That if they can see that the business wants what's best for them, wants to give them the life that they want, then they will work through their own self and not blame the business. Because typically we'll blame the business. Oh, and then we'll blame ourselves. I need to charge less. I need to, I'm in the wrong, business. I need to take another training, and I'm not just talking spiritual business. I really don't work with a lot of spiritual business except my Akashic record clients. Mostly it's lawyers, accountants, insurance brokers, just regular people that have brick and mortar stores, not stores, but offices. So understand that you are this vessel. Your magnificent space that you are on this earth is because you have something important to share. Maybe you just haven't realized it yet or know what it is. But when you own a business, or when you're really grateful that the career, whether it seems to be working out right now or not, when you kind of sit in the fact that I'm here for a reason, I just haven't found it yet. But I'm grateful that I know maybe I need to grieve the fact that it's not what I expected. And, but there's some other reason. So I'm going to be open to that. And the same with your business is, maybe my business isn't doing that great right now, but it's trying to share something with me. And I need to be grateful for that. And I need to realize that I'm grieving that it didn't happen as fast as I wanted it to. Or, there's a lot of that. I think we carry a lot of the grief around, and we want our business to fix that. Like you were saying, you became a fashion designer because it was very different from your parents. So chances are there was probably this natural talent that you had that wasn't appreciated by your parents or those around you. And so there was a grief, like, why isn't this being accepted? Why am I not being accepted? I'm going to go out and I'm going to show them. And so that is not in alignment of starting a business. that is you, like, I'm going to show them. And but instead of saying I'm really grieving because my expectations haven't been met, then all of a sudden the door opens. So with this infinity sign, always look on your side when it's not showing up the way it should, and take bite-sized morsels of the strategy of the big plan. And because it looks different. For example, I knew for a long time that my job was to empower people, mainly women, because I do work with some men, even in Business Women Warriors. We have a few good men in there. And, so what you want to do is you want to know that your expertise can be, maybe you need to be over here for right now, and then you slip back over here. And so it's understanding that there's grief, there's gratitude, and there's commitment to yourself and your purpose. And my purpose was always been to empower. And I also knew that it was through the spoken word, not through hands-on healing, because I used to always complain to the record keepers, why can't I see auras? Why can't I heal with my hands?
Yeah,
And they were
that's
like,
great. Don't
you need to
compare.
open your heart
Yeah.
and you need to come from there. And I was like,
Yeah, stop trying to create someone else's reality. Right?
yes,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly.
Well,
So
and so do you see people flow through businesses like I found that it's not just this is my business forever,
no, that's fine. And
it
that's a
evolves or
thank you.
changes.
Thank you. That's a great question, because when it's time for you to leave your business and you usually know that it feels complete and something else is pulling you into it, that's what you need to pay attention to. What's drawing me? Because that's how a business works. It pulls you into it. Then it's time to open up to allow yourself to sell it. Sell it to somebody that has similar vibrations, but is more vibrating to the growth, the expansion of that business. So rather than having lots of businesses that have, died versus, trying to live and be regenerated, it's really important for us to realize that it's not about us. The business picked you because you have it. You have it all. You just haven't discovered it, and that business is going to help you. And so the other thing that I wanted to share about the business and us is that for some reason, if we have a value or a worth thing that's going on in our head, even if it's just a small thread left from all the work that you've done, a lot of times when it gets to be successful, when it's very successful, we'll sabotage it in some way. So pay attention to that side where you are successful, but somehow you make some bad investments, or you don't listen to your intuition when it tells you to go left, you go right. Pay attention to that stuff, because that's another side of it. It's so, businesses have so many moving parts, but don't get overwhelmed when you notice what your purpose is and what its purpose is. Realize that it's not there for you to do it all by tomorrow. And once you accept that, the doors open up that are shortcuts. Like take this door. Oh, I didn't even know that was there. Or take that door.
Yeah, I love it too. I had a client recently who was, I need to leave my job. Something's calling me. What's my purpose? The whole thing. And we did a few sessions, and then she got invited to a luncheon with a bunch of business people, whatever, right? Little tables to take a place of someone else. And she sat down next to somebody. By the time she left, she'd found her new career, and was something she'd never even heard of before.
Exactly. It's being vulnerable. That's when I was talking about our vessels, I know we hate this word, but we need to learn how to be vulnerable, like just kind of be present and see where the energies are leading us, or feel. I don't know if you're a seer, feeler, or
Right.
just a thinker. Yeah, right. Whatever it is, pay attention to, because we end up, if we don't do that, we end up stuck in that same rut.
Yeah.
Does that help?
Yeah. Karen said she's great at the creative part. I think a lot of people can relate to this. I get inspired. I'm going to do this groovy thing.
Yes,
You do it
the
and you stay up all
follow-through.
night, but the follow through, or she said when the money's supposed to start flowing this way is
Yes.
when she blows it, she said.
Yes. And okay, I've had many businesses, and have success with upload. Yeah, that's kind of that's like a sabotaging thing that I was just talking about, where sometimes you can be really successful and then you lose momentum. I totally get that, because I get that way sometimes. But I have a support system around me. I have either a coach that I work with, or I have somebody, friends open my Akashic Records and say, okay, what's going on here? But I just want to, in closing, because I'm sorry, but I have to leave in 3 minutes to get my flight. But two things that the Akashic Record Keepers taught me recently that shifted me completely. They said, understand that there is a big difference between responsibility and commitment. And your commitment is to your purpose, your higher purpose, your business. Your responsibility is to the people it serves, meaning I'm going to show up 100% of who I am. Whether my people that are following me or learning from me or coming to me for a particular service, product, whatever, whether they take that in and do something with it is not my responsibility. And when we really get the difference between, and I even had to look up in the thesaurus and the dictionary, commitment and responsibility, because I wanted to write down every word that the Webster dictionary said about it. And then I did all the thesaurus. So when we really get that we are committed to being a vessel, say, then our responsibility is to do the best we can. And you know what? We do the best we can every freaking day anyway. So it's just accepting and saying, yes, I did. And the same with your business. Even if you get distracted, like you said, follow through. Maybe you weren't supposed to follow through on that. Maybe you need to come back and be vulnerable in that space for a moment and see if there was another sign you missed. And that, like, oh, I was so focused on beating myself up because I didn't follow through that my mind was busy over here and I totally missed these doors that were opening. So don't beat yourself up, okay? Realize that the Akashic Records are the best shortcut. I'm a shortcut queen. Anything that I can shorten the time. I have 6 grandchildren. So, I'm just like, I need to be able to do my work, stick to my time blocking. And then when my day's over, it's over. And so remember, 1, to stay really clear. Okay. 2, if you want to go to questions for biz, great. You can download those questions, sit with them, get into a vulnerable place of just gratitude or however it works for you, and ask the questions one by one and be in a receiving mode. I mean, so many people are in law of attraction, but very few people are in law of receiving.
Yes.
And then remember the infinity sign. Okay. That's probably the best tool that you can use. That the record keepers actually gave me that. I was like, give me a tool, and that's it. Okay.
Fantastic. Oh my goodness. Thank you. Thank you. I can see why Lisa told me to talk with you. I just adore you. Wonderful. Really great. And such powerful information. So people are saying thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you. Thank you all. I'm off to Florida for a month. I will be working though.
Well, we did some energy work with Florida earlier on the show today. And we were all visualizing it in its happy state with people bouncing in the sun and enjoying and everything looking beautiful for you.
Oh, thank you. Well, I am so looking. Oops, I spelled welcome wrong. Thank you all. Keep your heart open. Be the vessel you are. You're all magnificent beings. And the Akashic Record Masters love, love, love you. And they realize how hard it is to live in this physical world. That's why they're there, to help. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, sweetie. Big hugs. Take care.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a fabulous weekend.
Wonderful. Oh, my goodness. So I'm just like, I have chills from that. I love everything she was saying. I've had my own businesses for a long time, but remember what Linda was saying applies to career or whatever you feel called to. So part of the paradigm shift that we're in is breaking down what you think is an acceptable job. I used to call it be responsible in the sense of to what you were taught, like pay your bills on time and get a job and make everyone else happy and don't make your parents nervous because you're doing weird shit. Like I went into fashion design. I didn't do it to get my parents. I followed it despite nobody was against it. They actually supported me, but it was my passion. It was just so different. And then I got into spiritual work and then they followed me into that too. So, but the idea, if you have any questions about any of these topics, because we're going to get ready for our next speaker to talk about sex and creativity, and how if you are avoiding sex or dealing with abuse, or even just the idea of believing you can create, because, you know, sexual energy isn't just for sex. There's a proportion of it. And then the rest is for creative. It's creative energy. So she's an amazing lady that is going to be sharing with us. If you are avoiding these areas, it's avoiding your purpose. And I know what I found way early on. I got my fashion design business crashed along with the economy at the end of the 80s. I had no clue. I was about to turn 30. I had no clue this could happen, no idea what to do, and ended up just in a crisis that led me onto my spiritual path, which of course I'm very happy about now. Redirect. And but what I saw was so interesting, because I studied energy healing in mystery schools, and I became a master level hypnotherapist and a homeopathic doctor. And in the hypnotherapy, I started to see that when people came to me and said they had money problems, because I wanted to understand why I made a lot of money and I lost a lot of money, and I made a lot of money and I lost a lot of money. So I was really deep into that. And I started working with people online about 17 years ago in the middle of a divorce and a bankruptcy. And I thought, okay, I had people come to me and they would say, oh, I have this challenge with money and this challenge with money, and my marriage is on the rocks, or my sex life is falling apart, or whatever. And I started to see that money and love and sex were all tangled up with your self-identity. And that was where you felt valuable or not valuable, damaged goods or good enough. And all the other things we're talking about went into that. So if you have a pattern with money, it's most likely running in your relationships around love, or in your physical body health, or other things as well. So there's all levels to that. Also, I thought it was very valuable to realize that every business that you become attracted to, you're not supposed to force it into being. You might actually go, wow, that's interesting, and study for 2 weeks about a particular thing. And then you realize that's all you needed, was you actually needed that information. Or maybe you met somebody in that process, or maybe you took a course, and in the process of that course, you were introduced to something else. So never get attached to anything. That's the old paradigm of I have to force it. And if I don't make it, make, X or Y. So the soul of your business being something that is its own entity with its own contracts, with its own desire, that was spawned by people who needed those services. This is a very empowering, because now you go, oh, I'm not good enough. The business chose you for whatever reason. Is it to learn a skill? Is it to meet a particular person? Is it to up-level your confidence? Is it to learn to speak? Real estate investing, well, actually, it was teaching meditation where I first started to speak. And then in real estate investing, I started speaking on bigger stages, and I was terrible. But I was called because of what the passion was. So, okay, let's see. What else have we got here? Great information. I don't know where she's going in Florida. So anybody have any questions about any of the things we've talked about today? So let's review for a moment. We talked about in the beginning that, and this has been reiterated, that we hold in our Akashic records the fears and the pains, the wins, the intentions, the other lives where we have powers, or we hold those same fears that make them harder to unlock. And we have different things. Maybe your career is calling you. Maybe your career is done with you. I had a client once who told me she'd been a lawyer for like 15 years. She hated it every minute. From the day she went to work, the first day she threw up every single day she was at work, and she went for 15 years. Why? Because her parents wanted her to be a lawyer. So she went through school to be a lawyer. She became a lawyer. And the program that she had to please that forced her to keep going somewhere that was so unresonant with her energy, she threw up. Now, you could say, wow, that was a wasted time. No, it's never a wasted time, because the pain and the experiences and the loss and whatever always gives you an opportunity for a doorway. So Linda was talking about how it's a miracle when you start to align and believe that you imagine that you have everything you need to fulfill that job, or to create that business, or to be the person who starts the business and passes it on. Years ago, I had this vision of a book called The New Feminine Economy, and it kept floating over my head at night. And I went in and started, I found some women and I started a summit kind of like this. And we were in the process of designing it and creating it and contacting women and all of this stuff. And suddenly something shifted for me and I did not feel resonant with it. It was my idea. I had started it. I'd made the website, so on and so forth. And it was supposed to be the three women. There was something that disconnected in it. So I spent the holidays sitting with it and I kept going, but I have to. Linda was talking about the difference between responsibility and commitment. If you're in healing work of any kind, if you're a parent, if you love anybody and you care about them, that idea of holding the responsibility for their solution, or for them implementing the information you gave them, or for them making money because that's why they hired you, or whatever it is, that isn't your responsibility. Your responsibility is to be you, to be as connected and clear of a channel that you are channeling the information that is optimal in that moment for that person and for your highest good as well. And the clearer channel you become, the more this you access, the more suddenly something appears. This is one of the reasons one of my clients first, I don't know, 16 years ago, gave me the title of the fairy godmother of money, because it was working specifically with people, because my money challenges is with people around the spirit of money and the energy of money and the business and all of these different things. And this, when you see that these patterns, if they're coming up, I say it's on your plate, it's right in front of you. So it's what you want to accept. It's what you want to look at. You don't want to say, oh, this is terrible, this is in the way. But like Linda said, don't look at the business or don't look outside of yourself. Oh, it's the economy. Yes, my fashion design business closed because the economy crashed in the end of the 80s. But was that the actual real reason for my soul's path? No, that was me pushing, doing the way I had been taught, completing contracts and becoming something and achieving something. You know, first year, $1 million in sales, 3.5 years closed. Okay, the business. So I had to go through the crash of my identity. I had to go through the deconstruction of who I thought I was, what I had to achieve in order to be good enough. Then I got on a spiritual path. But what did I do? I took that same way of doing things, go, do, into my spiritual reality. And so each step of your way, you get a new opportunity to be someone new, to take the wisdom from the past. That's why we have sages, right? Elders, wise women and stuff, because they've been through so much. And each step of the way, you will see, if you look back at your life instead of a series of failures or where somebody abused you or this or that, and stop identifying with the victim and start identifying with the creator, that you are here as part of source, as a creator. You're here on a fully funded mission. You have everything around you and above you that is optimal for you right now. Then you realize, oh, just because I can't see it or I don't know the way to make it happen doesn't mean it's not going to happen. So one of the conversations now is about timelines. A lot of people are becoming, okay, all these different realities exist, and I could be me as I am right now in this moment, or I could be me believing in something completely different, and my reality can shift and you can tune into that. So one of my clients, we worked together for a couple of years, and she's become very adept after we go in and we find all these different things. She's become very adept at shifting timelines, and it was quite profound. We went into a past life that and I don't choose, right? I'm a channel, I'm that clear conduit, and this is what I teach my students and my is you become a clear and open channel for that. And then I hold the space, the sacred space, and I create it, and we step into it, and it's aligned to what's optimal for you. And we see the energies and we follow the flow, and I see and I scan what's happening and so on. So she was feeling stuck in her life. She was feeling like she had to do everything for everybody else. She had to make all the money. She had to come home and do this. It was never going to end. She didn't get to have what she wants. A lot of those patterns that a lot of people feel at some point: overwhelmed, working hard, extremely good, but never thinking she's good enough, even though she was exceptional. And when she thought about it, she's like, yeah, I am the most reliable person I know. And so we went to a life where she was a slave and she escaped, and she had fallen in love with another slave, and they planned an escape. He left a few days early. She escaped. They were supposed to meet in a cave. There was a boat they had there that they were going to paddle out in the middle of the night when the ocean came in the cave, quite powerfully, quite dangerously. But at night it calmed, and with the two of them, they could paddle out. She made it there, and he never came, and she waited for days. So love, potential, freedom, Everything I want. I'm tired of slogging along and looking at the ground and not having a purpose. This is how she felt in this life. That life was much more real as a slave in that sense. No looking up, no seeing the possibilities, no letting go of being responsible for everyone else. And she got into that space, and then she went into a crisis. Of course, she didn't know if her love had betrayed her or if something had happened to him. She didn't know whether to be in grief or in fear. Then she didn't know what to do. If she went back, she would be killed. So in that life, she went forward and she died. And so we're standing there, her now and her in that life, and we're in the cave. And I said, freeze, because she kept saying, there's no way out. There's no way out. We're trapped. We're stuck. There's nothing we can do. And I said, look for a new way. Both of you together, look for a new way, look for a different way. She'd be quiet for a minute. We did this and we died. And over and over and over and over. And she kept hitting a wall. There's no solution. There's no way out. She'll never live. I'll never be able to move forward. Finally, she found it. And when she found it, both lives moved on. And this is the power of what's happening now, is that it's not this part of you that's holding you back that you then unwind the contract from and you let them just be in their particular death, but that all parts of you are getting to move on. Once this happened, we did a session about a week later. We got on and she told me what had happened, because I was showing her how to search the Akashic Records, how to say, okay, if I freeze right now, because there's no time and space, and I go, what else could we do? What if we went back? What if we went here? What if this happened? What if that happened? So we've already had, like I think Erica was talking about, play the what if game, the what if up game, sometimes it's called. And what happened was she was in her bathroom and she slipped and she started to fall and she froze. This is in real time because of this ability to clear and to connect to her records and start to realize there is always another option. She froze in the middle of the fall and she was able to go, okay, if I lean backwards, I'll hit the toilet, my hip will hit that, I'll fall this way. Okay, if I lean forward, I'll hit this, this will happen, I'll fall over here. And she was able to choose which way to fall to minimize the impact on her body in that moment. This is kind of the kind of thing that can happen the more that you become present with the fact that you have every solution, possibility available to you. Marnie, loving all this. Oh, wonderful. So Ari sexuality, I'd love to know how to finally feel so confident, secure, and unleashed and free of fear of needing to look perfect, related to safety in this world, my body, and men. I think that's going to be a big topic. If you have anything else specifically around sexuality or your purpose, my next guest is in the process of completing a tantric sexologist practitioner training. She's a very accomplished teacher of the Akashic Records, and she said that the Akashic Records just started taking her in this direction. It kept showing up. So kind of like we were talking before, I'd never thought of real estate investing. It is one of my favorite businesses I ever had. And even though I had 80 properties and my whole empire crashed because of my divorce about a year before the whole real estate market crashed, which Linda was talking about, and everybody else crashed. It didn't mean that in the end that I failed at that business. What it meant was whatever I'd built, whatever I'd learned in that business was ready to move into something new. And my whole life had to deconstruct in who I was being, the roles that I was playing, right, in that thing. So, okay, so let's take a very quick break. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording for those